CBS News contributor and Washington Post reporter Ed O'Keefe. Ed, what more can you tell us?
Well, looks like this happened this morning in a statement. Nunes explaining that he was stepping away because there had been some complaints filed with the congressional ethics regarding accusations that he had improperly shared classified information. In his statement, he blamed several left-wing activist groups for this and says that in order to not be a distraction, he'll hand things over temporarily to Mike Conaway of Texas, Trey Gowdy of South Carolina, and Tom Rooney of Florida, who are essentially next in line on the committee. They'll work with Democrats to continue the probe. What I think this is more than anything, Vlad, is an acknowledgement that he and his continued involvement was going to seriously jeopardize the ability of House members, especially Republicans, to continue this investigation. And the decision comes about a week after the Senate Intelligence Committee really demonstrated that they're taking on a much more nonpartisan, more serious attempt to figure out what happened regarding Russia's involvement in the elections. But this also comes as the House prepares to go home, and I suspect that Nunes was going to face a lot of pressure back home, a lot of questions from constituents about whether he had the best interests of the Intelligence Committee in mind or was doing the bidding of the president.
How serious is an investigation by the by the Office of Congressional Ethics? Is this a big deal, or do you see it basically as the out that he needed to step away?
That's a very good question, Anne-Marie, because ethics probes can sometimes be serious and sometimes just be designed to help discredit somebody politically. But in this case, the accusation is that he may have made unauthorized disclosures of classified information, a violation of House rules and federal law and other standards of conduct. Simply as an allegation against the House Intelligence Committee chairman, that's a serious one, and one that he understood he has to step away from the role, at least when it comes to the Russia investigation. What he said in his statement is that he hopes to talk to the House Ethics Committee about this quickly in order to get this sorted out. But that's probably the most damning allegation you can make against a member of the House Intelligence Committee, but especially the chairman.
Ed, is there any sense then that because Nunes has stepped aside, that in the course of the FBI investigation, Representative Nunes may actually be subpoenaed?
I think it's too soon to know that, frankly. But there's a good chance that could happen if depending on the scope of the probe and whether or not it now extends to that odd set of days and events that involve Nunes going to the White House to review information, scurrying back to the Capitol, scurrying back to the White House, and trying to make it seem like the White House had nothing to do with it. So we'll see. But it certainly, all of this has been a distraction for the House Intelligence Committee, for Congress in general, and I think this is designed to sort of help quell concerns. Remember, you're going into a 2-week recess this weekend where members of both parties are going to go home. They're going to face a lot of questions from constituents about what it is exactly they've been doing around here. And they haven't been able to do much. The health care bill fell apart. The Senate by tomorrow is expected to confirm Neil Gorsuch. But beyond that, there hasn't been much. And I think that the attempt here to get Nunes out of the way probably helps ease the tensions for other Republicans who are going to go home and probably face the music from constituents upset about how things are going here in Washington.
Ed, let me ask you, I'm looking here, we're both looking at the statement from Devin Nunes, and I want to sort of break this down because in addition to accusing what he calls left-wing activist groups that have filed these accusations against him, he also goes on to say American people are beginning to learn the truth about the improper unmasking of the identities of U.S. citizens and other abuses of power. And I ask you this, I want to point attention or draw attention to that line in the statement because there have been charges leveled just recently by the President of the United States that he believes that President Obama's former National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, may have committed a crime. In fact, the President told the New York Times he thinks that she did. He offered no evidence. In this statement from Nunes, it appears that he is also sort of using this line of attack.
Yep, and it's one that we should expect to continue hearing from him and from other Republicans who have said that, if there is any real serious attempt to look at what happened, it should involve what the last administration may have been doing and may have been saying regarding the Trump transition team and the incoming administration. And so you're right; it is notable that he makes that point there. And even in Steve Bannon's statement yesterday, explaining why he was no longer a member of the National Security Council, he took a dig at Susan Rice. So they clearly see her as a convenient, foil, someone that they can call out, and just the mere mention of her name, they must think, helps sort of restore the support of Republicans who don't take or don't consider her in high regard based on her work on the Benghazi attack and just her work for the president in general up until last year.
Last week when the Senate Intelligence Committee's investigation into Russian meddling began, there was this sense that, well, now the real investigation is going to start because the House investigation has been delegitimized by all this messiness, let's say. Do you think now with Nunes stepping away, the House can resume the investigation and be taken seriously?
I think that's the hope here. It's clearly designed, I think, to get him out of the way and see if there's a chance to restore the confidence in it. I think we'll have to see what Democrats make of this when they are asked about it a little later. Adam Schiff, of course, is the ranking Democrat and has been pretty critical of Nunes and his conduct in the last few weeks. But it may also turn out that the damage really has been done at this point, and that the only really reputable investigation going on up here is the one done by the Senate Intelligence Committee and the ongoing probe at the FBI. So we'll see. But I think more than anything, this, obviously now there are some official accusations against Nunes. He has to get out of the way. But it's also probably going to be a bit of a relief to his Republican colleagues who are going to go home and face the music in the next 2 weeks and probably hear from constituents very upset about how things are going here in Washington. And
we should say that we are expecting a statement from Adam Schiff, and it was earlier this week that Adam Schiff officially requested that Nunes step aside. So we expect that his statement would be, I'm sure, something positive or reinforcing the decision that Nunes has made.
No, and it's been fascinating to watch these two, Nunes and Schiff, do this. I mean, they clearly only seem to negotiate through press conferences. Dueling press conferences, and both of them are just, love the camera, love the microphones, obviously very telegenic and eager California congressman who had a pretty good working relationship up until a few weeks ago, and things really have boiled over and become much more difficult for them since. So it will be interesting to see, and I think we're also expected to hear from Nancy Pelosi later this morning on what is a very busy day here at the Capitol. You also have the Senate getting ready to confirm or get the process started on Neil Gorsuch. So dropping this news into that certainly makes for yet another busy day here at the Capitol.
Ed, you mentioned that both Schiff and Nunes love the camera and seem to communicate with dueling press conferences. And we were talking, Vlad, do you remember a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, we were talking about Nunes and what his reputation was like before this.
Right.
And it wasn't that of a camera hog. It was that of somebody who could work in a bipartisan manner. And this has really sort of had an impact on his reputation. And so the next question is, can his reputation recover, Ed?
We'll see. I think it's clearly taken a hit, and I think he's almost acknowledging that now in this statement this morning that shows that the reputation is such now that it faces official accusations of misconduct. And this is, you remember at the beginning of the year, right before the new Congress began, House Republicans tried to make a change in the rules that would sort of neuter this Office of Congressional Ethics, because members of Congress have been complaining for years that these kinds of ethics complaints are made and they can sort of languish for a long time and sully a member's reputation. And amid a public outcry and even the president weighing in, they decided not to make that change. But I think what you see here is sort of saying, look, this accusation has been made, but I want it settled quickly, and in the meantime, I'll get out of the way and try to salvage the investigation. We've reported it, the Post, others have reported it, that there was some curiosity in the fact that Nunes had even gotten this job to begin with. Some of his former Republican colleagues didn't take him too seriously, didn't think he was up to snuff. But it's important to remember that one of the reasons that he was on the committee to begin with is that he had been a loyalist to the former Speaker, John Boehner, and had helped him raise a lot of money out on the West Coast. There aren't very many Republicans on the West Coast, and Nunes was very helpful in raising campaign cash for House Republicans and had been one of Boehner's real deputies and loyalists back in the day. So he's a holdover, essentially. Ryan kept him on the job. and and the Speaker expressed support for him today. But one wonders whether he'll ever really be able to hold on to it at this point.
Right, and Ed, we're just showing our viewers here a live shot where we're expecting the ranking committee member, Adam Schiff, Democrat of California, to speak very, very soon and offer his statement. But I want to, and there is a statement out from Adam Schiff, which we'll get to. But I want to ask you, Ed, you bring up a really good point about the history of Devin Nunes when it comes to being the chair of this committee and his past association with John Boehner.